Hello ladies, this is Still Looking Good, the channel that reviews wigs for the mature woman. Today I'm coming to you with a machine wig that I made. So it has no name or anything like that, and we'll talk a little bit about the manufacturer and everything. But I want to show you some of the things that I did to prepare to get this wig on my head. So let's take a look. So here all I'm doing first is I'm cleaning my forehead with alcohol because the glue will not stick if you've got dirt or oil on your forehead. Now I'm just checking the sides of the lace to make sure that it's going to fit above my ear the way I want it. Yeah, so that's really important too. Now all I'm doing is putting the Ghost Bond on my forehead and drying it with the dryer to make sure that the lace sticks on my forehead. And now I'm just laying it down, basically. So I couldn't find my rat tail comb, so I ended up using the end of that brush. So now I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to do a middle part, so I just started combing it and parting it to get ready for that so that I can start laying it down. Now I'm putting on some edge tamer so that I can go ahead and start working on it with the hot comb, as you can see. So I'm just hot combing it out to get it ready for styling. And that was basically it. Okay, so now I'm tying it down because I had to glue it a little bit more. It wasn't working right the first time, and I'm fighting with that scarf, as you can see. Now I'm just brushing out the curls that I put in it, and that was pretty much it. That was the work that I put into it to get it ready. Okay, so you saw the different things that I have to do to put the wig on my head, and you saw that I did put a card up so that you could see that I've done this before. I have put wigs down on my head before with glue. Sometimes the situation works well and sometimes it doesn't. But what I wanted to talk to you guys about was not only the hair on this wig, but also a couple of tips. The hair on this wig when I bought it was not matching. The frontal was a lighter brown than the bundles, and I kind of had to go through some things with the people who sent me the hair, but we got it all straightened, so I'm not going to tell you who it was. But anyway, yeah, so it did work well. When I went to bleach the knots, I over bleached them, and the hair turned really fast. Like in 5 minutes the hair turned, so I had to go and get a little cheap dye and dye the front of it to kind of get that back to where it should have been. Other than that, the only other thing that I have discovered after making this wig, which is my second one, is if you use a mesh cap or a dome cap and make a closure wig, you're good. Because with the closure, you're only going to be sewing on the, you're going to be sewing the closure like this. And that way you still have the cap attached on both sides and, you know, and all over because of the rest of the hair. That keeps the cap in shape. If, however, you use a frontal, the frontal is different. The frontal goes from ear to ear. And so if your frontal is like 13 by 4, 13 by 6, you're not going to be able to use a dome cap or mesh cap successfully. And I'm going to tell you why. If you put on a frontal that's ear to ear on a dome cap, depending on how far back it goes, and you sew back and then you cut the dome out from underneath the lace, there's nothing that's going to keep this wig on your head. It's just not going to happen because half of the cap's gone and the frontal is too loose for you to keep it on your head like that. So there are, and I'm going to show you a picture. There are some caps now that are made specifically for frontal wigs, and I'm showing you the pictures now. And as you can see, there's cap on the side. Even though it's showing you lace in the front, that lace is a guide for you to use to put your own lace there, because that's the way it's supposed to look. So that's the guide for your frontal. And the good thing about it is it keeps the cap intact because it's holding on to the sides of the cap as well as the top of the cap. So I would suggest that if you're going to make a frontal wig, sewing machine or even by hand, you should use one of these caps as opposed to a dome or mesh, because of the fact that if you don't and you use a mesh or dome, what you're going to have to do with that frontal, since it's going to be ear to ear, is you're going to have to sew like across that frontal on the side. You're going to lose some of that lace on both sides because you've got to keep that cap intact. Because if you don't keep that cap intact, it's not going to stay on your head. It's just not. Because if you have to cut half that cap off because you got a big frontal on your wig, it just logically does not make sense that it's going to stay there. So what I ended up doing with this wig, even because I have a 13x4, and as you can see, my part goes way back here. So if I had to cut off all that dome, then there's nothing back there to hold it up unless I keep some of it on the side, which I did not. So I ended up putting an elastic band in here to keep this wig on my head. But I mean, it's not going anywhere. It's here. It's secure. And again, sewing machine wig is very secure anyway because of the stitches. But I'm just telling you that to let you know that don't think that if you put a frontal on a dome or mesh cap that it's going to be strong enough to stay on your head, because you're losing half that cap once you cut out from underneath that frontal, unless you secure it on both sides and lose some of that lace by keeping that cap underneath. That's just, I mean, it's just common sense. As a seamstress, and I've been sewing for 30 years, I know that it's just not going to work. Besides, when I tried it didn't work. So the next time I do that, I'm going to use one of those types of caps that I just showed you. Now a closure is different because, as I said, the closure is only going to be from here to here, so you keep the integrity of the cap because you're not cutting this off. You've got hair over here and hair over here and your closure. So all you're cutting out of the cap is this piece underneath the closure. So that keeps the cap integrity of the cap. The frontal's different. That's why I think it's really important for you to understand that you cannot cut all that cap off underneath that lace because it's just not going to stay on your head. Unless you put combs in there or something, but it's not going to stay on by itself because of the nature of the way the cap is made. You're taking off half of its elastic and there's nothing there to hold it on to your head. So just a tip for you guys. I'm going to be getting some more hair. Again, I used inexpensive hair because I've been practicing, and I'll put a link up there to another one of the wigs that I made. And I'm not going to buy really, really good hair until I get really, really good at this. And when I get really, really good at this, then I'll probably sell some of these wigs. And by the way, as you know, I sell wigs. You can see the link there. Stilllookinggood.bigcartel.com is where I sell my wigs, and my store is always open unless I'm doing maintenance. So once I get good enough at this, or I feel that I'm professional enough at it, then I will sell the wigs that I make. I'm not going to be making a lot of them, but I will be selling the ones that I do make. So I'm going to be getting a closure and bundles here in the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to make another wig. I'll probably use a mesh cap only because I can use it with a closure. But the next lace frontal that I make is definitely going to be made on one of those caps, because that's really going to keep that cap on your head. Plus, those have adjustable straps, as you saw in the video. I mean, in the pictures. So thank you guys so much for subscribing and watching this video. I hope that my tips have helped you. If you have any questions about sewing machine wigs, let me know. I taught myself and am teaching myself. Although there are people that have classes and there are people that are on YouTube that'll show you how they do it. I'm just telling you from my experience what has happened to me and what I know works and does not work. Not being a professional wig maker, but I am a professional seamstress. I've been sewing for 25 years. So again, thank you guys for subscribing. If you have not subscribed, please go ahead and hit that subscription button and the notification bell so that you don't miss any of my videos. Next week, I'm going to have another different video for you. We're going to be talking hats next week. And so, as I always say, ladies, I love you guys. Please subscribe. Please hit that bell. Stick with me because we're going to have some fun in the next few months. After the holidays, we're going to get right into the winter hair as well as the coming spring. So, as I always say, ladies, if you're going to show love to anyone today, please show it to the Creator. I'm still looking good, and of course, so are you. See you next time.